have a limit.
Yes. Yes, we are live.
Good.
Let's see if this is working on YouTube.
I don't see it on YouTube.
I don't see it on YouTube yet.
Just refreshing. Oh yeah, there we are.
Yeah. Now, yes.
Yes. Yes, we are live. Let's see if this is working on YouTube.
I don't see it.
I don't see it on YouTube yet. Oh,
we have to put that on mute.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, sorry, everyone. First time we are doing this. Bear with us. So yeah, we have 7 viewers already. So we can start. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Yes. Good morning.
Well, maybe not so much in India.
Yeah, good
afternoon.
Afternoon.
All right, let's do this. I'm very happy that everyone is here and that we have 7 viewers. That's exciting.
11 now.
11 now. Oh my God, they're getting more and more. And I think we can just quickly introduce ourselves. I can make a start. I'm Bianca. I'm Bianca Berning. I'm originally German, but I live in the UK since 6 years now, which is a little bit scary because it's the UK and they're going to kick me out very soon now. I work as a font engineer, I guess, at Dalton Mark. I started there as a junior designer 5 years ago, and that was why I reached out to some other people and asked them if they would like to talk about what happened in the last 5 years in their lives. So these are the others.
Elena?
Next one.
Sorry, me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Elena Schneider. I'm also German originally, and I studied together with Bianca in Reading. We graduated 2011, and I now live in Iceland, and I'm an independent type designer. I have a little son and a boyfriend, and we also run a little guest house in the north of Iceland, so there's plenty to do for us in the summertime. Right now we are in Spain having a summer vacation, which doesn't work because the weather is really bad.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's that. So, Kimya, you want to continue?
Okay. Hi, I'm Kimya Gandhi, and I did my master's in visual communication, but I did a type design project for my master's anyway. And yeah, I did a fashion communication bachelor's for starting type design career, I guess. But yeah, I did my graduation project for that in type design too. And since then, I've been mostly freelancing for the past 5 years, and I live here in Mumbai. And right now, I run Mota Italic, the type foundry, with my husband here in Mumbai. So that's about me.
Okay, I am Sol Matas. I am a graphic and type designer from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I study in the public university there. Now I'm living since 3 years ago in Berlin. When I finished my type design program, I created a foundry with some friends called Huerta Tipográfica. I should say, like, since then, mostly I've been working on open source projects, fonts. Marina?
Yes, I was unmuting because, well, sorry, we're trying to in the control room here, looking at all the questions. And it's
yes, Marina has the control.
Hi, I'm Marina Chaccur. I'm originally from Brazil. I moved to the Netherlands for the second time about 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago. I work with lettering, calligraphy, design, type design, and other things also within Type Network. Yeah, let's get this started. Well, beyond our introductions. Sorry, guys, Saturday morning, it's very difficult.
Maybe we can quickly mention for everyone who's watching it live on YouTube right now that there's on the right-hand side is a little bar where you can post questions while we are talking, and we try to look at it every now and then, so we are not missing any of the questions. A little bar where you can post questions.
Someone has the window open. We have some already good mornings here, and Victoria from Portugal, Pirule Lachan, I don't know, and Manuel Sesma from Spain says we are the best.
I agree.
Nice.
So, should we? No, sorry. We have somehow trying to organize or to start. Together we were talking like maybe it's nice to start talking about places where you can study or some experiences where you can study type design, different programs or different ways, even like to get this knowledge. Many of us, we have made a type design program in different places, like Marina in the Cap, and Elena and Bianca in Reading in UK, and Kimya, where she had studied in India, but then she got more experience in Europe. I've studied in my hometown in Buenos Aires, in a public university. I don't know if someone wants to share like how was to get into this program or anything about this, please interrupt me. I decided to study type design when I was even here in Germany. I was for a couple of months, and I remember Lucas de Groot because I wanted to go to his program in Potsdam. So I want to start with this because there are so many options. They are not like only in a type program. At the end, I couldn't make it because of visa and some paperwork at that moment. I came back to Buenos Aires where I started like this new program. But I know there are some people that they could make it, and there were not officially students there. They could study there as listening students. So I wanted to start with this just to open minds, like there are not only places, there are not only one way to study type design in an official program. There are many courses around. Of course, like when you study in university, facilitates the knowledge. But what I think like the individual impulse is the key to learn about this. Because it's not only that, you have many options, like, I don't know where I come from, there are so many, in fact, mostly there are more graphic designers that they study or they got this knowledge being self-taught and using many resources, books, internet, other colleagues, like more in, for instance, like what I was doing the last years was more learning by doing in a more collaborative environment. I could suggest like, in many cities, I'm discovering more and more, there are not just programs in schools or universities, there are groups, like they are joined, like here in Berlin, you have the Tipo Stammtisch, or in Argentina, I remember you have the Te Convoca, or other places, like there are just many type lovers or type professionals join these spaces, sharing their knowledge. And you can come there with your project or with your questions or whatever, and it's kind of exchanged. So I always suggest just try to be open, because there are many things, even things that you don't learn in a type program, depending, of course, on the type program. For instance, where I studied, there were no knowledge, or no one was, or is, I could say, teaching about non-Latin writing systems. I've been working in Devanagari, or I've been working in, for instance, in Cyrillic, and that was something like I learned in the with the help of native designers, with something I learned being part of the community. It's not like I was working in a type studio, design studio. It was more by my own, with colleagues, and exchanging all this knowledge. If someone wants to add,
yeah, I just wanted to add that
different type programs too.
No, I was saying that even in India, I think there is no non-Latin as a, like you would expect that it's
Yes.
taught here in universities, but it's not. So it's not a part of a course module. It's not like a compulsory thing that gets taught as part of a graphic design. You know, you have basics of typography, and we do Latin typography. Nobody really, unless you take it up as a project on your own, it's not really a part of the syllabus, really, which is kind of strange which is why a lot of Indian students go to Reading and yeah, but I mean, I think there are more and more students who are interested now, but so that's kind of making collective, like people ask each other and get these questions answered, I guess. So yeah, where can you study is
Sorry. No, I think like formal education, of course, has its advantage because it provides an easier context, to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end, there's no guarantee that there is like a complete learning. Still depends on the individual, and it's something like I think you still do after your studies. You should do that.
Sure.
I feel like the answer to this question is completely different from what it was 6 years ago when I considered studying typeface design. I think either I didn't do my research very well, or at that time there was really just The Hague and Reading, which stood out as as like study programs for type design. So for me, it was just like either or, and I think I tried at both places, but landed in Reading in the end. Now I just did like a really quick Google search, and there's actually a Wikipedia place with list of institutions offering type design education, and it's huge. I think they are also including graphic design courses that do type design. Oh yeah, it's actually, it says that type design courses at design colleges and universities. So there's that, and then there are specialized type design degrees, which apparently are in Argentina, Brazil, France, Germany, Mexico, the Netherlands, Switzerland, the UK, and the US. So that's good. I'm going to post this link on the YouTube thingy. But yeah, I think the institutions that are offering this kind of courses, the list of it just grew so much over the last few years, and
Yes.
there's a far bigger variety, and you don't have to just choose from like a couple of schools anymore. Plus, I think there's far more literature about this topic as well, so being self-taught is probably easier as well. I hope so, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely agree with Bianca. And also there are countries that are further away, like in Argentina already, the maestria is well known and has some years. But also in Brazil, we started postgrad in type and typography. There are other courses that we are not so aware of because they are not worldwide known. But there are things also in Chile or Type Cooper now, it's a big option as well.
Yes.
And we do have definitely more courses that are becoming more prominent and more well known, and it's much easier to find where to study, and you can do it on your own, or at least reach out for other professionals via mentorship program or something like that. It's easier to get in touch because information is available, like we are having this webcast now, so people can just come in and ask a question and get on from it. Like, of course, this is not formal training, but it's
Sure.
a step.
I would like to hear from Sol about how she earned a degree in type design, because I know that there's a nice story behind that.
No, because I was part of the first group of students in that type master in Buenos Aires. And because I was moving to Berlin, I hurry up somehow the bureaucracy of the university, because it took 2 years to have the degree in my hands. So because I was really like forcing the people there, then I was the first person to get like the degree in my country, the type design specialization degree. So yes, it was kind of, I was part of the group, but it was, yes, because I am a very persistent person, I got it in first place. It's just a funny story, yeah. But I should say, like, because of these two, because we were part of this first of generation, of this first group, then many of us were invited like to teach there in that moment. There are some that they are still teaching, because it's something, okay, now I think it's the fourth group, because it's a 2 years program. So yes, and this is how it's growing up in the master. And I think, yes, it's totally different if we compare the situation 5 years ago or even 10 years ago. I think this specialization is something like it was already established by some people that they were working as type designers, but now it's into the formal education, and even this master is improving each year, because it's something kind of new if you compare with other master programs or with other careers. What I find some parallels between Buenos Aires and Berlin in that case. What I find it very nice and interesting, like the community is very close, so the whole community is helping, or somehow from the start was part of this program too. And the people who created this program were already part of the community, like what I say at the beginning, like this tipo Stammtisch. Somehow this kind of meetings existed in Buenos Aires in those days, so these places help, like, even to create them or to connect people who were later part of this program. That's why I always say, like, it's very important to be part of your community in your city or in the neighbor cities, I don't know, because good things come from there, always. I think like type design could be like something like you do by your own, something like very like individual task, or could be like very open and collaborative too. Yeah, and this is, I think, my experience was mostly the process or the way how I learned many of the knowledge I apply today in my daily work.
I don't know, is anyone, I can admit for myself that before I went to Reading, there was not much I did to teach myself type design. Is there any one of you who has experience with that? Because I would like to know how to go about that.
What to teach?
Teach yourself some type design if you were not going to study at one of the type design courses.
Well, I think there are many ways. Like I know many designers in Buenos Aires that they started doing at the university project with some other students in the subject typography, and then they continue after that together. There are so many courses or workshops of lettering and calligraphy, and somehow this could be started point. Yes, type design is not calligraphy or lettering, but all this stuff helps you to understand many of these things then. So, and there's many lettering and calligraphy from, I don't know, years ago, at least in Buenos Aires. And these places helps even like just a starting point somehow. And then with blogs or yes, with like with groups online, with discussing stuff. I don't know, online there are many resources to how to start. But I know many people that they were studying graphic design, and in this subject, typography, they started together, some exercises, and then they continued them outside of the...
Yeah, for me, I think it was when I got interested in doing more of type-related exercises in university. I decided to do a font design project for my master's, and this professor that I was working on, he's a good typographer, but he wasn't really in the place to give me type design feedback. So he printed the whole Font Lab manual for me. So like this whole 900 pages, and he said, I can do this for you. And so that's how I was just, and getting online tutorials on how to learn the software, and especially for, I think, Indian scripts, because there's not much online resource, there's not much archive to go and look at books or just basics. So there are a few books, some of them are already out of print, or so I think there's not as much material documented. So I think it's just but then there's so much on the streets that you can just walk around and keep taking all these pictures, and it's nice. You get your inspiration from all of that. So I guess it's also looking at things and then trying to just build your own archive kind of a thing. So
yeah. What I did is that I just very naively, I think, started doing things without knowing anything. I just started drawing letters, and that I cannot do it.
I'm back. My laptop crashed. Sorry.
Good to see you back. Yeah, so that made me actually go for type design postgrad, because I kind of realized that I could probably never do it by myself all the way. Also, like with having a full-time job at the same time. So I just, that was one of the main points for my decision, that I just dropped my job and started this post-graduation, so I could focus on really learning the type design thing.
Yeah, I also went for, it's nice to hear the mixed experience, but in a way getting to the same point, that we all had similar things before going into the postgrad. I also did many workshops with different professionals. So I started Typemedia in 2010. I think my first type design workshop was with Bruno Mag in 2000. So like 10 years before. And then with Ruben Fontana as well, who was Sol's teacher a few months later after Bruno, but also did many workshops in calligraphy and lettering and things related before I was sure that it was the way. And also another possibility is reaching out to professionals and becoming an apprentice. I started working with Tony DeMarco at Just in Type in 2004, before going to my first MA in London in typographic studies in graphic design at LCC, where it was not in type design, but also, well, it was a graphic design and typography master. but there was a teacher who's Paul McNeil from Muir McNeil, and so he taught me many things about type throughout the year. He was my sort of personal tutor in a way. People change teachers during the course, and he chose to be my tutor the whole year. And I'm very grateful for that because it was great. And because back then I didn't realize that I wanted to study type design. I wanted to be around type, but not necessarily designing it until, well, later I found out. But definitely courses, books, talk to as many people as you can, and try as many things as possible until you find your way.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so shall I take over for the next point?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to talk about our careers, and I will start with the question about what made us go for a type design postgrad. And well, as I already told before, I kind of always wanted to learn typeface design, and I just realized with having my own studio that I couldn't do it while having a full-time job. So I had to drop everything and applied for the master in Reading, which worked out, and I'm really happy that I did it. I had a studio with my best friends, and we were doing like really nice graphic design stuff for mostly cultural publications. So it wasn't bad that I took the decision to leave, because we had nice jobs with mostly nice clients, and I was working with great people, but I somehow always wanted to learn the type design thing. I don't know why. It just happened to be there in my mind. So, and that's why I just told myself I either have to do it now or never. So then I just tried to do it. That's my story. There's not much behind. It's just that I had the feeling to do it. So yeah, what about you?
Well, actually, mine was a little bit even more random than that. I did my graphic design studies in Krefeld in Germany, and during that year, I had a great professor called Nora Gomert-Hauser. She's awesome, and she always pushed us to learn more about typography. And in the beginning, I can remember that I was really bored by the typography course. I didn't want to do it. I thought like it's just boring to just handle text. But the more she pushed, the more I got into it, and I really liked it in the end. And then I went for an Erasmus exchange to Norway, to the art academy in Bergen. And during that course, we had like one workshop for 2 weeks at a prison in the middle of nowhere in Norway, and we were working together. Like the prison it was a small prison. I think they have like around 30 inmates or so, and they just had this new wood workshop, but they didn't know what to do with it. They wanted to produce something and then sell it to people in there, but they didn't know what they wanted to do. So the art academy was just like asking a lot of people from different courses to join in and go there and develop something together with the inmates, and I was part of that. And we developed like an identity for back then it was just a fiction shop. I don't know if they actually opened it in the end, but so we created like an identity together with the inmates for the shop to sell their products. And while I was doing that, I found myself explaining a lot of typographical things to the inmates that I was working with, and they were asking more things, and I realized that I don't have the knowledge. So every evening I went back and I was like Googling everything. I was like, okay, tomorrow I have to come up with some answers. So this is kind of how I got interested in this thing. And these 2 weeks like taught me so much over there. And in the end, there was like a guest teacher called Anthony Quinn, and he's a ceramic teacher here in London. And he asked me, so Bianca, what do you want to do after you finish your diploma in Germany? And I was like, well, I think I might want to go to Reading to study type. And he was like, to Reading, of all the places in the world. He knew already how boring it was. Obviously, I didn't have an idea. I just thought like, yeah, why not go to the UK? Sounds like a good place to be. And that's how I ended up in Reading. Pretty random. I don't have a really good story behind it either.
It's a good story, I think.
Yes.
Okay, Marina, you want to talk about your
Sure.
way?
So I went into that master in London at LCC because it was about type, but not necessarily designing. It was called, when I applied, it was called MA Typographic Studies from the London College of Printing in the London Institute. And then when I started, it became the MA Graphic Design at the London College of Communication of the University of the Arts. They changed all the titles from the level of the course to the university name. But apparently it was to match more the content in it. So in a way, I was pretty disappointed that it was not so focused in typography, actually. But then with the teacher that I got, then I was really happy. And by the end of it, I went back to Brazil and started, working again in graphic design, but mostly I started drawing things on the side and like drawing letters on the side and doing some sketches and lettering with more calligraphy, and started teaching in universities. And by the way I was progressing with that, I noticed that what I really liked was to draw letter forms. And I knew Reading already because when being in London for LCC, I visit Reading often and went to Michael Twyman's classes, sneaking in. And I knew the teachers, I knew the course, but I felt that it was not the place for me. And then when I was back in Brazil, Gustavo Soares, who was a type media graduate, he was back, and then he gave a talk at a publisher, and he invited me to see it. And when he presented the program of type media, I was like, that's it. This is where I want to study, and that's what I want to do because of the exercises and examples and the professionals that were around. I already knew about the course, but for some reason it hadn't sparked something before, and I think it was about the right timing. And yeah, then I contacted Jan Willem Staes, but then the class was already the next class had already been chosen because that was in May in 2009. So then I had to wait and apply for the next year, and luckily I got in.
Okay.
Can I just ask, because you just said that you immediately thought that Reading was not the place for you. Like, why was that? And I'm not judging you. I know that
Yes, you are judging.
no, not at all. I know the difference between Reading and type and media, and I think they're pretty substantial. So it's good to talk about this, maybe.
Sure. I think they're very good programs, both of them, but they are very different in terms of the structure of the course. And in Reading, it's more, my feeling, I might be saying something wrong, but it's more research-based, and you develop one project throughout the course. So you start already your final project from the beginning. And, Reading in itself, it's a pretty boring city. So when I was living in London, coming from São Paulo is a huge city. When I moved to London, I thought, that's it? It's that small? Which sounds crazy, but it is. And now living in The Hague, which is super tiny, I go to London, I was like, okay, this is overwhelming. But back then, going from London to Reading, I felt like, okay, I'm going to get depressed here. It's so small, it's so boring, there's nothing around. I need more inspiration. Even though you're a few minutes away from London by train, it didn't feel the right place. It was very weird. And then the program itself was, it was very dense. And then with type and media, there are many sort of workshops and classes that you take. So you have Python programming, you have stone carving, you have calligraphy, you have type cooker, you have a revival. So you have so many things before going into the final project that it felt that for me, it gave a better base. Like, even though I had done many things before, having that sort of variety of experiences and ways of looking at letter forms, it was a better way of dealing with it. Also because I was teaching almost full time before going into the second MA. So I wanted to get a bit further, like from the academic part of it, and have more hands-on and produce things. So I felt that type media was a better suited program for that, for having it more hands-on.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Reading is a very boring place, but it also comes with the perks because it's so boring. You just really can put your head down and work for a year. So I guess that's the upside.
Makes sense.
Namrata was asking, Marina, can you shed some light on your application to type media?
Sure. Well, I didn't have the opportunity to be here on the open day, but I came before because a friend, I was living in Brazil and a friend was getting married in Spain. So I was like, okay, let's go to the Netherlands and see the space, because I didn't know The Hague. When I thought about type media, I was like, okay, this is the right program, but it's the right city. And I knew Reading wasn't, but then I hadn't been here. So I was here for a day to see the studio and meet the teachers and meet the students. And immediately I fell in love and I said, that's it. But the application itself, so I came in January and I talked to them, but then there's a process. I don't know what's the process nowadays, but I think it's pretty much the same, that you get in contact and you send your portfolio and a letter of intentions, like why you want to join type media, and a curriculum and your passport, like technical information, but I'm sure they'll be able to provide that. But I think the question is more about the portfolio itself, or the letter of intention, like what's in it. I think there are many different approaches, and the people who are selected have a variety of skills and backgrounds, and they are very different from each other. So there's no secret ingredient or magic or something like, oh, you gotta have this in your portfolio, or you gotta do that. Because by mixing people with different levels of experiences and different backgrounds is where you get an interesting mix. And then you can not only learn from the teachers, but learn from each other. So, but for sure, you need to show interest and some attempts that you are trying things by yourself, and then you are motivated, and that's what you want. So some self-initiated projects, sketches to show how you think, not only final products, but how you got there, to show how you think about type and how you develop it, like your method. So I think that's interesting, not only for type and media, but any portfolio or either for master or job interview. I think it's interesting for people to see that.
I think this is like almost the same how you would apply for the course in Reading.
I would just want to say something a little, like just to be open. In the last group in the Type Master program in Buenos Aires, there are two women that they are expert calligraphers and they come from the law school, from the University of Lawyers. And they are studying type design. So sometimes the profile could surprise you about people who are studying type design.
Yeah, I agree. In our class, in Elena's and my class in Reading, there were also two people who were programmers, pretty much. And they didn't have any previous experience in, I think, oh my God, they're going to kill me. I'm sorry, Rob and Erin, if I'm saying something wrong. But I think they didn't have any previous experience in either graphic design or type design, or not substantial anyway. So I think Jerry, who is the course director for the Masters in Type Design over there, I think he's actually trying to get a good mix together. So as Marina said, people can learn from each other and can widen the horizon. And it's not like all the same people with all the same skills. It's not going to bring you anything.
Yeah. Kimya, sorry, you were going to say something before.
No, I often get, when I do these, sometimes I teach at institutes, and there are students who are interested in going for a master's, and they're often concerned if they need to be technically sound in sketching, and like, is that an important aspect for getting into these universities? Do you need to be pretty good at your drawings? So for people who got in institutes, maybe you guys could answer, is that an important part, or is it more how you conceptualize your ideas?
I'm not very good at drawings, and I got in, whereas Elena is really good at drawing and she got in. So I think it might not depend only on that.
Sure.
Yeah, when I say about sketching, is not only manual sketching and drawing, but also vector sketching is your process. So there are type designers, there are pretty great type designers that don't do any sketch by hand, but they are great at vectors. So you don't necessarily need those skills, but for sure it's interesting to try them at least sometime, to have an approach. But the sketching process, it doesn't have to be by hand.
It's true.
No, I think you have to try different things to just find your own way. I think that's very important. To not give up once one thing is not working, but just keep going and try to find your own way of approaching things. Like however it would be.
Well,
okay, I think we totally got lost in our in our list. Shall I continue, or what's the idea here? Okay, so the next question would be, what did you imagine, and maybe we can just keep it rather short, what did you imagine you would be doing after the course? And I think I imagined when I started the course in Reading that I would just go back to Dortmund to my mates in my own studio and just keep doing the things I did before, which then completely changed in a good way, I think. I mean, we're still the best friends, so everything is good. And I just stayed with my type design, and I'm really happy with that. But I think beforehand, I just thought I would just come back and keep going.
Yeah, same here. When I was doing the program, I was running my own studio at the same time. So at that moment, I only thought like I was going to continue with my studio. So. But no, I ended up closing it and focused only on type design. At that moment, my studio was more about identity. And yes, I had many clients. I was a studio that I was running for many, many years at that point when I was studying, at least, I don't know, 10 years. And I thought I would just continue with that. But you never know.
I think this is a very interesting. Sorry, Sol.
Okay.
I think this is a really interesting question because over the last 2 or 3 years, we discovered that there are a lot of girls coming out of type design courses from the big schools. So like the rate there is almost like 50-50 between male and female graduates. But then somehow you don't find that as many female type designers in the industry, or maybe they're not as vocal about their work. So this is kind of like a, I'm totally with Elena. I thought I would just, go back to graphic design, but have a better understanding of type design. I think this is where I wanted to go for after Reading, and it's just like, I'm not doing anything like that now. But yeah, I wonder if this is maybe something where a lot of people opt for when they do type design courses, and then they just go back to their graphic design or communications design jobs.
Yeah, I didn't have that was not an option for me to go back to graphic design. I was not even doing graphic design before the master anymore. And nowadays, when I think about it, that I have to create something that I don't know even where to start. I think, okay, I do, but it's not the same thing anymore. I thought I would be more into type design than I am nowadays, that I'll be designing more things. But then right after type media, I went back to Brazil, and I was taking care of an apartment renovation, and I had a pretty bad spine problem, and I could not move my arms. So I started designing something like continuing the project from the master. But I was doing a bit here and a bit there. I could not move, and I was like, okay, I won't do it. And then it just, sometimes you lose the pace, right? When you're not doing it as often, you just, might get into trouble. Like it doesn't feel the same thing later. So it got more rare. Like I still design, but not as much as I thought I would back then.
Yep. I think for me, when I was already doing type design in a graphic design course, and after I finished my master's, I still thought I'm nowhere. I don't know much about what's happening, or I wasn't even very happy with my project. So I said, where do I go next? And Reading was quite expensive, and I wasn't really sure. There weren't even companies here, so I didn't know if I should make that big of an investment and then come back. And because I had already done all my projects in the master's course in type design, so I didn't even know if anybody was giving me a graphic design job. So I was kind of like, okay, I'm neither here nor there. So which is why I applied for the internship at Linotype. And it just happened. And then I wasn't even thinking what I would do if not that. So I just applied and got through. And then thankfully, the internship was really great, because I wanted to escape to Europe too, somehow. And so, yeah, it was basically a great experience, because I knew that I'm really liking doing this and I could do this. And so it was, after 3 months, I was really quite sad to come back, because I didn't know what I was doing once I was back. But I did complete the internship project, and that got released. So, and then just one project happened after the other, and I still don't know. I find it hard to believe that it's still going on. So, yeah.
Okay. The last question on my list here is, what are your classmates doing? And I think probably 25% of our classmates are
working at Altenmark.
And I don't know much about the others, actually.
Oh, I do. So yeah, we are right now 3 from our class. It's Eleni, Hannah, and me, who curiously also lived together when we were studying in Reading. We are now working at Altenmark, and then there are a couple of people who are working at Microsoft, doing different things over there. Weiberf, I hope he sees this. Weiberf is due to submit his dissertation, his PhD, but I think he's prolonging it a little bit. Priya is also working now and is also doing a PhD in Reading. I think a couple of people are teaching, like Joanna and Blondina. Julie just moved back to Switzerland. I think everyone is like kind of, I think we were good. We were a huge year. We were the biggest year in Reading. So there were like a lot of people. But most of them are actually working in type design. Maybe not all of them full time, but everyone is still doing like a little bit of type design.
Mm-hmm. Well, in my case, because we were the first generations, the director always say that our group was kind of over passionate about this topic. Yes, because somehow we were like the people waiting for something like this to study. So the first group was really intense about this. Mostly are teaching or working type design. Only one in Dalton Mag, and the others more independent or in open source funds too. And others are just keeping their job as graphic designers. So it's kind of a mix. But there were many from other countries too, like from Uruguay, from Colombia, Venezuela, Brazil, and Chile. So many students, they came back to their countries, and yes, mostly they are teaching there at the universities.
Yeah, from my class, I have my own studio and also working at Type Network. Linda is at Linotype. Colin, since graduation, he's at Huffler. Janone has his own foundry. Laudi and Florian have Shiktoika. I think Maute is still drawing type as well. Yassine is also drawing type. There are some other people in graphic design that went back to graphic design, like Emma and San. I don't know what Alp is doing. Kunihiko's back to Japan and still also with type. I think most of my class is still in type design.
Sorry.
Either with big companies or independent foundries. Or...
There was an interesting question Indra asked me when I talked to her last week about this webcast. She was asking me if we are going to talk about Google Fonts as a career starter, because this seems to be something that is pretty common. I know that Google Fonts, especially in the years from like 2010 to maybe last year, they were investing a lot of money to develop a lot of fonts at the same time, and they were happy to do that with people that didn't have that much experience in type design. So maybe somebody can talk about like developing fonts for Google Fonts.
Yes, I can talk about that. I had a pretty experience. Well, in my group, with my classmate, and when we were studying that from Buenos Aires, Argentina, no one thought like will join the professional career, because there are not so many options from there, although you start your own business by your own. So somehow when we finished the studies, the first group, Dave Crossland visited Buenos Aires, and he contacted many of us. And somehow this was a very strong starting point for many there to get into like the business type. I think otherwise many, maybe including me, we have never started, or I don't know, you never know. But for many of us was really, really like this situation pushed us. It was an opportunity for us to start there. And since then, some of us, we still continue. Some of them, they just did like one project maybe, but others, we, after years, we continue being part of this group. What I find like, what is interesting for someone without experience, no? Without experience in type design in the professional business, I mean, because maybe we have experience in graphic design. It's like it's an opportunity, and because you're part of the big community immediately when you start, then there are many people that helps you, that make some guidelines, or with the technical issues too. The collaboration, it's really very active there. So it's not like you start by your own, alone, and searching by yourself. It is more like you have a huge group of people with very diverse profiles, more designers, people like beginners, people who are professionals for years, people who have been working in huge companies. So it's a very interesting mix. Could be for a starter, could be a little bit overwhelming, sorry. Because you feel at the beginning that all this technical stuff could be like, too much information for a designer. But when you go through that and start exchange, when you have your own project, there are many people that can give you feedback or help you. So it's a little step by step, and at the end you get it. And for many of type designers in Buenos Aires, this was the starting point, and it was the opportunity to publish their own fonts. Even for people who were doing fonts for many years, but they had their fonts in their laptops without any publishing, they started to publish as open source fonts in Google Fonts. Somehow this really helped and increased a lot the local production. So yes, there are many ways to start into this business, I think. But the good thing, like here, you are part of you really feel that you are part of a community, and you are in a very collaborative environment, because everything is open, or should be open.
Okay, thanks, Sol. There's another question. Sorry, I forgot before. Somebody posted this question, and it is: what is involved in starting your own independent type design studio? How does one even start that process? I think there's a recipe to do that. It just, for me, it just somehow started when I was graduating, that Rosetta asked me if they can publish my Escorte typeface, and somehow things just got rolling after that. And that's how that's how I actually stayed with type design and didn't go back to graphic design, because things were working out really, really well. And then I started, I was doing one round of portfolio drop-ins in London and in Paris, and that's how I met Miles Newlin, actually. And we started working together, and we still are collaborating a lot. So things just worked out really well, and that's how it started. You just have to be open and try things and make a good portfolio, I think. It's easy to type design project you have done already. So I think people from Reading and from Type in Media, I don't know about the other programs, they have their graduation projects that they can show in their portfolio. I think this is really important, that you show that you went through the whole process of designing a typeface, and not just a small one, but maybe like a bigger typeface family with, probably it's really good to do some non-Latin design also, and some different weights, and just try things, show that you are really interested in trying out things, and that you can also finish what you were thinking about.
It feels like that this is a question that would require an entire webcast about. That we could get some other alphabets to join for a webcast only to that part of like starting your own type studio.
Yeah, I think for me it was just, that's what I wanted to say. It was just the Escorte project which somehow made it happen to really start doing my independent type design job.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. Let's make a second version of this for exactly this independent type design studio question.
Yeah.
I'm happy to take over from here. We were going to talk about career in general now, not just our own personal experiences. And the first question we were going to tackle was, what are the possibilities for someone who's starting off just now? And I know that a lot of people who are currently studying or recently graduated have a huge fear of, not being able to find a job immediately. And some of them might just look for the perfect job immediately, or they start their own business, or their own little type studio. But from the possibilities that are there for someone, I think it's just there are a variety of things how you can get involved. And this is the idea of this webcast, actually, because we all have different backgrounds and we all made a career in very different ways. So I hope this can also already just feel some interest in some areas.
Yeah, there are already, like among us and other things that come to mind, there are a few basic things. As Bianca said, some people might want to go for the dream job right up front, but either in an established foundry or publishing the typeface with established foundry. But we can also open your own foundry, or I think what I've seen mostly nowadays is people freelancing for foundries, either small or big ones. Because there was a question about here that we could talk about it later, but I think it's also a good part, a good moment to mention that Pablo asked about the technical background, and the type design is not only drawing. And there are many people who start a typeface and they don't want to go forward with it. So there are many designers that are being employed to expand the character set or do the engineering part and technical or hinting. So there are many possibilities that are beyond just drawing. So I think it's not only about starting as a designer and doing from the beginning to the end of the process, but in this process you can be inserted at any point and collaborate with others, and that you get more networking and you get more skills and you get more possibilities, and you can grow from there.
And you have more to show in your portfolio, which I think is like really important, especially if you just dropped out of university and you have like your 1 or 2 projects that you can show. If you then apply for bigger foundries, there might be people who are applying with you who have like more experience in some things. So in order to show people that you actually are good in a variety of things related to type design, I think it's important to collaborate with other people, especially in the beginning, and start freelancing and just try out a lot of different things and build your portfolio up, and then you're on a good way.
I think especially in a lot of students that I've noticed who take up type design projects here, because the course is not really a master's in type design specifically, it's a more generic graphic design master's. So there are a lot of IT companies who come in for placements, and I have seen a lot of students who take up type design projects and they really enjoy it, but at the end of the year they kind of are tempted to take up a job which pays way more than just like hanging on and doing their own thing. So a lot of them just end up taking up different jobs and think that, oh, I'll complete my type design project on the side, which never happens. There are so many, because I guess it just takes patience to sit and complete your project with another job, which is kind of taxing. So I think, like, even if I this is what I learned from my experience with it, that you need a little bit of patience. You can't really just, and if you're really interested in doing it, then you, like, I guess you just have to have hope and patience that, and keep trying to do more things, so, and meet different people, and then, so that's how I guess you could get into having a career in this field. I guess it just doesn't like happen that you graduate and then you just be able to start up immediately.
I think that Kimya, you said a word that is very important within this field, which is patience. You need patience for the process. You need patience for type, like if you publish it and it not necessarily starts selling from day one. You need patience at many different points of it. Like, yeah, you don't get experience overnight, and you don't. Yeah.
No. Bella was actually asking a question that is related to that. She asked, what would your advice be for somebody who has all the determination to get their foot in the door, but lacks professional experience in both graphic and type design? What would you say are the key things to work on that future employers are looking for in an intern or junior type designer? And I think this is just it. Like, I think you just need to show that you are working on yourself, and that you are trying a lot of different things. And I would just use this opportunity. Like, I know I wasn't like this, and I'm shy in reality, you don't believe it, but I would not just walk up to some experienced type designer and show them my project. But I think this is what you need to do. So don't learn from me. I think everyone is just so welcoming in this industry. I've never experienced that anyone would just say, like, no, sorry, I don't have time for you, go away. They all have a lot of time to help people out who are just starting off, who are very junior. So just do that. Just show your things around, get some feedback, work on yourself, expand your portfolio, and eventually you will get there, I'm pretty sure.
Sure.
I think I just answered all the questions in my thing.
Yes.
I'm sorry. We also had like questions about like how picky can you be without an extensive portfolio, which is very related to this. Yeah, I think in the beginning, it's good to take what you get, but don't sell your soul either. So if somebody is offering you to get involved in a type design project on a freelance basis, then I think that's a good thing already. You will not just get a little bit of money out of it. You will also get experience, and you get to know new people, and you get to know how other people are working, because you're working in collaboration with them, and you can learn from them. So there's a lot of things that you can get out of it, apart from just, a little bit of money. So I think, especially in the beginning, it's good to reach out to other people and say, like, hey, listen, I'm available. I would love to work with you. So just give me a call when you have something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's important to even just do things to know what you like and what you don't like. And that just comes from doing. So I guess you have to just do it to know what, sometimes it doesn't work, but you still learn from it. So I guess it's important to, if you're just saying initially that I don't want to do this and maybe I want to do this without having an experience, then that's kind of not a good thing, because you need to go for it and then decide what you want.
I think we also answered another question that was sent to us before we started this, which was what are the best type of self-initiated projects to include in a portfolio. And I think that's it. Just try a range of things, and then you will find your own way. You will find what you're comfortable with, and then concentrate maybe on that, and just show that you are enthusiastic about type design. I think this is important. Don't seem like you're just doing it to, I don't know, because you have some time to waste. You are actually like into it, and if you show that, then
yeah, I think with this question, there's a relation to Bella's question, that it's interesting the way that, okay, it's not only what you have to do to please a future employer, is what you have to do to please yourself, and then find your way. And then by doing, as Kimya said, like, what you have to do loads of things to see what you like and what you don't like, because what's the point in getting something that you have no passion for? And okay, then you got the experience and you know that you don't like that as well, and you get out. But it's not about pleasing the employer, it's also trying to find your way. So before thinking about the portfolio to please others, have the portfolio that it's about the things you are interested in, and that will find its way to the right people.
Yes, that's very important.
Maybe you can just say that there's no recipe for like creating your portfolio, unless just don't put in things you don't like.
True.
Because then when you get into a job interview and you're just telling your employer that, well, you just put it in because you didn't have anything else, but you actually don't like it, I don't think that's a really good idea to do.
Also, just imagine the risk of getting all these projects now because you have it in your portfolio. So they know that you can do it. And it's like, oh no, now I have to do it for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Okay, Kimya, do you want to talk a bit about how important the location is?
Yeah, so yeah, we have a couple of questions here about how important is location in terms of type design, because I think from my personal experience, when I started off, there was well, Satya from Indian Type Foundry had like just about started ITF with Peter Bilak, and you know, they were just about like a few people, and that's about it, aside from some few independent well, I don't know if I should call them foundries, but there were people doing type design in certain different pockets, but there wasn't an opportunity to like go and work with them for like on that kind of a scale. So in that situation, it was kind of a question for me what I should be doing. And it's kind of ironic that at the same time, like there's all this new interest in non-Latin everywhere, but like I said, it's not really taught here. So you know, I kind of have an advantage, but also a disadvantage because so yeah, so I think because of internet and everything, I think location is not really that important. You can be anywhere and be connected to anywhere else in the world, like we're doing right now. You know, we're talking from everywhere. So I just wrote to whoever I thought I would feel good about getting feedback from, or when I was traveling, just go to conferences and interact with other people and try to understand how different people work. And I think that helped me a lot to just meet different people. Like even now I go to Berlin and I'm a little starstruck because there are so many type designers in one city. So it's nice to just have people around and discuss what everybody's doing. And yeah, so what is your idea, Saul, about location? And since you also you were the first person to get a degree from you.
Well, yes, depending on the country too, because what you say is true. Today with internet, you can connect with so many people from different countries. You only have to take care of the time, what time in each country. Yes. For instance, in Buenos Aires, people are sleeping now. But, well, in my country, Buenos Aires is a huge city with a huge community that doesn't happen in other cities in the country. Or even, I don't know, for instance, in a lecture I did here in last summer, I contact many people from Latin America, from different countries, like coordinators from, there is a Biennale of Latin America type design. I contact many of these organizers, and for instance, like in Bolivia, the organizer told me like they're not type designers, they're not professional type designers, but there are many people, many graphic designers who are interested into this. Somehow with this Biennale or organizing these events, this it's helping like to encourage more and more people. So yes, when you are living in a country, like there are not so many references, like living with you in the same city, all these connections, like the Biennale is a thing like connect all countries, I don't know, like 16 countries in Latin America, so it's huge things. So there are many different ways, no, to connect with other people. Because of this, there are many, even like many type designers during the Biennale traveling because they are invited for lectures or workshops from other countries. So you have an exchange. So you have this in person when you have these lectures, but then you have all these connections through these events too. So yes, of course, it's very important when you are living in a city where where the place is full of activities around, and there are many type designers living in that city, like what is happening here in Berlin, that many type designers living here. Same happens in Buenos Aires somehow, in the region, if you compare with other cities. They are very similar in that point. But there are events, there are things like helps to connect with others when you are not living in those cities.
Also, I want to add that it's kind of important to take advantage of the location that you're in too. And initially, when I was a student, I was kind of complaining that there's not much happening here, but then there's a lot happening here on a different scale. Like there are all these hand-painted like lettering artists, which are not really like celebrated lettering artists, but they are around every corner, and they do some really fabulous work, and all you have to do is just walk on the streets and take pictures, and there's your like inspiration for doing so much. And yeah, so I think that's a huge advantage for being here, that you can just travel very easily to so many states, and because there's so much variety, and so you have a different script every few kilometers, so you can just go and learn yourself by just looking at things. And it's very easy to just go to places and contact, you know, these artists. And so they're all, even with the historical archives, you just have to find the right places to go to libraries and museums and try to persuade them to look at things which they would normally maybe not show to people. And I think that that's an advantage too. So even if there are maybe not a type design course, but there is this which you would not see if you were in Europe. You won't see the hand painted examples that are here. So I've slowly come to terms with, you know, finding a balance of both situations. So yeah, I just answered my own question.
And we all relocated at some point, right? Like for work or for courses or for any other reason. And you also said something interesting, Kimya, that's like, yeah, having a base where you can have inspiration regardless of what's there, and it's important to you on a personal level, because there are so many opportunities to travel for courses or talks or anything like that. I was just thinking right now what also with Saul said about the Tipos Latinos. Last week, I just got back from Portugal last night, because I was at Encontro de Tipografia last Friday and Saturday in Lisbon. And there I met many people, including Fernando Melo, who's Brazilian and lives in São Paulo, but works for Fontsmith. And he was at Tipos Latinos in Chile, together with Mika Reyes, who's from Mexico, living in New York and studied at KVK. And then he was stopping in Portugal on his way to UK. So like people are moving all around, and you meet so many people and conference and things like that. And so it doesn't really matter where you're based, as long as it's good for you. And yeah, with internet and conferences, you have lots of opportunities.
No, I also I feel the same. I'm like spoiled with choice. I live in London, and there's like something type related going on almost every week. Like it's very easy to connect with people if there are a lot of people around. I would really like to hear from a person living in Húsavík in the north of Iceland how she's dealing with it.
Honestly, I feel a bit lonely sometimes because, well, people around me just don't really understand what I'm doing. So I keep saying I'm a graphic designer, so they just have some idea about what I'm doing the whole day. But of course, I agree. It's not very important where you are, as long as you have internet access, and try to keep collaborating with other people and just teach yourself. I should maybe travel a bit more, which is difficult at the moment, but it will hopefully be possible one day. But for the inspiration thing, it was quite funny that, like, I think 4 years ago in Húsavík in the museum, I found this like huge beer label archive. So it's true that inspiration is everywhere. You just have to find it. Even at the end of the world, where there's nothing type related at all around, you just into the archive at the local museum which is tiny, to find something like massive like this.
Yeah, I think those are usually the best ones, when they are not type related and they spark something that gets you to a different path. But it's funny when you said, like, okay, I think it's expected that in Iceland you have to explain what type design is and what you do.
Especially on the countryside, Especially living on the countryside where they
No, but you have no idea, because I think Berlin has the highest number of type designers, I think. But in a way, I think The Hague has the highest concentration of type designers per square meter in population. and there are so many people here, and even then, it's not often that I hear, like, really, type design? You're the first type designer I ever met. Like, what? Okay. So that's really surprising, also being in a place full of type designers. So it's but then moving here, there had a very strategic thing that is also being close to Schiphol, because in half an hour by train, I'm at the airport, international airport, can take me anywhere. And being in São Paulo, like, any flight was like at least, within the country, like to get out of the country was at least 2 hours, 2 hours and a half. And then to get out of the country to Europe, like 12 hours. So being here, it's so easy to travel and go to places. So in that sense, location is important in a way.
Yeah.
Also, I was thinking about just the awareness of the field, because in a lot of, I've seen a lot of ad agencies here who just use free fonts, and the whole idea of font licensing is not very well received here. So I think in that aspect also, location is important in a way that I feel it's important for me whenever I go to teach, to explain these things to students, and because that's where it influences that, you can't just download and get fonts from wherever, and because a lot of times these serious assignments happen with just ugly looking free fonts, and there's a lot of bad design around. And I think, in a way that if, that I don't know how much, I would like to know how much like that impacts getting projects for somebody who's doing freelance work, because I've done a couple of projects with people here, but they have been not, there are more people who do more commercial projects, but they've been bigger companies. And so it does impact when you're doing a branding project, that I've heard that they don't want to spend so much on vernacular or, spend on creating new fonts. So I think in that case also, location is kind of a important factor, because to just convince clients that you need to do this.
That's a very important point, Kimya, and especially in places that don't have a culture in type. But then when you have, well, friends and family and people you know, and then they know that you are a type person, you become the source of information for type related things. It's like, okay, I need to do this. How can I do that? So in that sense, doing what you do and being where you are, it's already important. Because, yeah, it's right. Because people get in contact, even if it's like a friend texted yesterday, oh, I'm back into graphic design and I'm doing an identity. I need to find good type, blah, blah. Where can I do this? And then, you become the source for it. Or another person, oh, I'm going to do a tattoo. Which font is a nice one for this? So I'm sure you get loads of these questions as well.
Yeah, that happens a lot, I think.
Yeah, and eventually that turns into commercial projects, because if you're always being requested for information, you become a source of knowledge within the community, right? And then that turns into paid assignments because one person knows from another person.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think we've kind of answered these questions. So we have a question from outside, from this KVDGM19. And the question is, as someone from a country that doesn't have many opportunities for design education, how do I make sure my portfolio is ready before applying for courses or jobs? Does anybody want to answer?
I think we already were talking about how to prepare a portfolio, even if you have like studies or master in type design or in graphic design. And what we were saying before, just put the stuff that you would like to do, or even you can fake some project just to show your skills or what you would love to do. It's not like in your portfolio everything should be already a professional or a freelance or in your studies as a graphic designer. It could be that something like you're passionate about and you like to design that. And so you can just keep working and add more stuff that you would like to do. Someone will see that and will contact you.
Yeah, I think I'd like to point out that I don't think, like, I can speak for here, it's not a country that doesn't have opportunities for design education. It's just maybe not included in there's just not like an official master's, but there's definitely opportunity to like educate yourself. So I think there's a difference between having a course which is formally available for you, but there's also this other, like we've been talking about this, there is opportunity to just take up your own project and do it. So yeah, all right. Marina, do you want to?
Sure. And as we said, like nowadays with the internet and everything that's going on, there's no reason to be constrained by the location and lack of opportunities where you are, because you just need to open a browser and you have within a click reach to so many resources that you can, self-initiated projects. I think they are the most important ones to show what you're interested in. As Elena said before, like don't put something in your portfolio that you don't like. You get hunted by that. But yeah, anyway, we mentioned those things before. Moving on to a next part about networking, and a general question is like, how did you get to know people? I'll start answering by saying that since college, like in education and design, I started going to as many conferences and workshops and courses as I could to see what I liked and what I didn't and what would spark my interest. And that got me in contact with loads of people. And when I started working in type and getting interested in type, I started going to a Type I and TypeCon. That was like back 2004. And then being one of the only Brazilians going to a Type I then Claudio Rocha passed me the part of being country delegate. And then in 2010, I was invited to join the board. And a few years later, for Amsterdam 2013, I was organizing the conference. So, and that gets you in contact with so many people. Now this year, 2 months ago, I stepped down from a Type I, both as I stepped down from a Type I as a board member and then organizing conferences. I think that was 6 years was enough. But within that time, I think there's no better way of getting to know people than going to events. And even if you're shy, you just have to know one person that is outgoing, and then can introduce you to many other people. Yeah, that's usually the case. I remember, I think it was in Helsinki that there's a well-known type designer that was starting back then, and she didn't know anyone, and then she asked another person to introduce her, and then they were both going around. It's like, this is this person, hi, and she was so shy and so self-conscious. But hey, that got her loads of contacts. And I usually do that. Like, if someone doesn't know, like, who do you want to be introduced to? You just have to ask and then start a conversation. Like, as Bianca said, like, it's such a warm community and welcoming community. And yeah. So how is it for you girls?
For me, it was pretty much the same. I think I started getting to know people when I started going to events. But also, I think when you study in Reading, when you graduate, you already have like a list of people you already met during the course, like guest lecturers or people who studied at Reading and came back to visit the department. So you get introduced during the course to a lot of people already, and that helps, especially if you're new to the field. And then if you start going to type events, it's good to already have like a couple of people that you know. It makes you feel a little bit more involved. I can totally see how some people are a bit self-conscious when they don't know anyone. And I actually recently went for the first time to the Unicode conference, where I was the outsider again, which was completely different. So I just recently got reminded of how it feels like when you don't know very many people. But yeah, just be bold enough and walk up to people, I think, is the recipe. And everyone is very nice, and everyone is happy to introduce you to other people. So just do that.
Yes, and I would like to say, like, for me, it was kind of the same. Like, I was trying to go to events even when I was on vacations and traveling. If there was an event, I changed my route and tried to attend those events. But I know that depending where you're coming from, to attend to this event, you need money, you need foreign language skills, you need time, you need, many things. But sometimes there are events happening in your own cities and they are free, and you can connect people there too. So another thing, like, I suggest is to support the events that maybe are running in your own city, because this is how you start even this networking connection. Like, for us, it was when we started as students to participate in the Biennale. The Biennale is a free event, depending on each city. Some of these workshops you have to pay, but the exhibition and many stuff running around are free. So if you are part of that, this is a very good start point to know people and to show your work to participate. Participation in the Biennale is free. You can send many projects and you don't have to pay. And then people from other countries start to know your project. So I will suggest like try to go to events, try to find which is the event proper for you, or where you feel like you could be like more in touch, or because there are different events with different profiles too. So and there are many options too.
Yeah, I agree. I think in India, there's a conference that happens every year. And I think for students, that's really great because maybe it's too expensive to travel outside as a student, you know, when you have like A-Type I or Type Con, it gets very expensive for a student to go to. But these Indian conferences are nice. In fact, after my internship at Linotype, the next year, I entered this lottery that Typo Berlin has. And I actually won a ticket
I was
to
going
it.
to say that too. Like many people coming to Typo Berlin, they are just hanging out, not attending to the conference, but just hanging out around and meeting people. So even in a paid event, there are many options.
Yeah, they make these lottery tickets too, and like it's kind of interesting to just try, and you know, you have other opportunities to just to go and do this. Or there are even these online forums that I think, even if you can't be in person, or just, I think for me in conferences, meeting people and also listening to what other people say in the conferences, like their talks are interesting, and a lot of talks now have live streams, so that's also a great way of just knowing what is happening in the rest of the world. Oh.
Elena?
Yeah, well, I'm the wrong person to ask because I don't travel at all at the moment. But I did that after graduation, and that got me going. So it is important to travel and to meet people, I think. It's just really difficult to do this at the moment for me, with having this other business in Husavik and having a kid, and having no family backup where we are. Yeah, but I think it's important, and you should definitely do it when it's possible.
Yeah, that leads us to.
I'm planning to do it, and I really want to meet more people and get more involved and do these kind of things. So that's one thing I really miss to do.
Yeah, that linked me to an idea that it's related to the next question, and also what Saul suggested, but because it's like, how often do you go to Type conference? But we are always talking about traveling here and there and relocating and things like that. But it's also an activation of your own community and your local community that it's important. And when there's nothing happening, you can start your own. You don't have to go to other conferences. You can start your own event.
Good idea.
Yeah, because if I think, like, for instance, like now, Diatipo in São Paulo has a long story, but we started like, okay, we are a few people here doing things. Let's meet up in a bar, on a restaurant, and see what we are up to. And then suddenly it was like, hey, but I want to see more of this project that you're doing. I want to see more of that thing that you're up to. And then it became something that like 30 people in a school with a few people presenting their projects. And then it turned into a bigger event. And then Henrique Nardi led that for a few years. And then it got international speakers, and it grew to a few hundred people. And then we have new teams organizing it in the past years. And then it branched out to Diacritico, which is a webcast that we are also using in sort of the same model here. And Diatipo now has like 300 attendees and 3 international speakers and loads of local speakers with workshops and talks and networking. It grew from a few hours in a restaurant to a 2-day event that in about 10 years. So yeah, something that starts really small can be a seed for, and that also grows the awareness of the community and where you are. so it's not all like, how often do you go to events, either in your own city or well, country or abroad? And how's your calendar looking for next year, Elena? Do you have any ideas? Would you like, are you going to at least one conference or?
Nothing planned yet, no. Because it's impossible for me to travel in the summertime when the guest house is open. It's not working. So, and this is when most of the conferences are happening, actually.
Yeah, I think this just screams for a winter conference.
Yeah, the summer calendar is crazy busy with loads of them in the same weekend or like one after the other.
Yeah.
So we should organize something in Reykjavik in winter, and
Yes.
Let's plan something in Iceland.
Yeah, it's just not even okay. Saying Reykjavik because I would like to know that, but it's a personal interest. But yeah, let's go to the countryside and join you and do something.
Yeah, let's do that. We have a guest house, so we have like a venture where we could do it.
How's it? I think you posted. How's your calendar looking for next year, Bianca? Because this year you're traveling everywhere, right?
Yeah, this year was a little bit crazy. I'm not sure I can pull that off again next year. It was a bit exhausting. But yeah, I think next year there are some conferences I definitely don't want to miss out, like Typo Labs, which just started this year for the first time. And it's Berlin. It was in Berlin. It was just before the Typo Berlin conference, and it's a conference about the technical parts of type design. So that was especially interesting for me, and I'm happy to go back there. And well, A-type I naturally, I'm infected now, and also I really want to go to Montreal. And what else? Is-type in Istanbul is happening, which is only happening I think every couple of years. So you gotta make use of this. Can't let that one go. And then there was like one conference which wasn't strictly a type conference, which is typographics in New York, which I found really interesting last year to see not the usual type speakers. Which I thought was very interesting. The same kind of thing happens with Granshan, where I thought that, so I've been to Granshan only twice, once in Bangkok and once in Reading. And the one in Bangkok, I was so amazed by it because it was so nice. It was very focused on Thai, on the Thai script. And you had a lot of speakers there that were local from Bangkok. And they were talking about type design, but they were also like, I think like a couple of anthropologists who were speaking about their research in the Thai script area, which is something you would not usually find at type conferences. And this is why I thought Granshan was so great. And I think the same kind of thing, I couldn't come to Cairo this year, but I think the same kind of thing happened there, where they had like a strong focus on Arabic type. And that's just something I'm very interested in, and I hope that they continue doing this, just traveling from continent to continent and country to country and exposing people to the local culture there, which is something I'm sometimes missing at pure type conferences, where you see the same people speak about sometimes only like portfolio talks. So yeah, there's much more to be added. But yeah, I hope next year is not going to be as busy as this year, although I do like traveling. So just give me 2 weeks of resting time and I get the traveling back again, I guess.
Kimya. How are your networking plans? Like, do you have any plan? Do you think about it in a purposeful way?
Yeah, I think the thing is that traveling from India gets really expensive if you have to keep going. So we can't really plan more than one, I think. Or so we we try to plan a trip around a type conference. That's kind of been an idea that I really like. So if well, last year we wanted to do Kerning, but we missed it because of our dates, but we went anyway. So maybe I would like to do that next year, maybe the Kerning conference in Italy. For us, it's kind of an excuse to go and attend a conference and then maybe get some traveling around. So I think that's an interesting way of traveling too. If you base it around a conference, then you get to travel and meet people and also get some other traveling done along with that. So once you're in, especially for Europe, I think once you're in Europe, it's easier to get around, and there are a lot of ways to see other countries. And so yeah, so maybe Europe next year, though I would love to go to A-Type-I too, but we don't know yet.
Nice. So since you're on, I also want to start with you the next question, which is about can you identify one moment in your career that pushed you to another level, like one thing that you saw or someone that you met?
I think I don't know if there was no like one magic moment really, but when I was working with my at my post-graduation institute, there's this professor of mine called Professor Kirti Trivedi. He's been a huge influence, and I think when we were doing my my final project, and he was the one who was the typographer. But what I basically learned from him was that he, in my second half of the project, said, you do your project on your own and go and talk to all these different people, but we will just sit and talk about anything else. So we would just sit and discuss books or talk about any random thing or anything that I saw. And I think for me that was quite significant, because I had never thought of education in this kind of a environment where you could just have conversations and learn from that. And that made me look at things quite differently. And that's what I like to tell people too about, that you get stuck in this like feedback mechanism where you do something and immediately want somebody to assess it. And then, you're like stuck in that thing. And what was refreshing was to just not follow one person, but to just have your opinion and talk to many others and see how everybody else thinks about things, and to not stress so much about what's happening with your grades and all of that. So I guess those few months where I spent like discussing my project with him were kind of changed my way of looking at the process of making projects. And I think that made me not really worry about what is happening immediately in the future. Like I was never thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? I just figured I'll think about something and make some project for myself. So yeah, that was good.
That sounds really nice.
Yeah.
Sol, how about you?
Well, I have I can identify two moments. The first one was when I was studying. We were just in the middle of the program, and Juan Pablo del Peral, one of my friends and colleagues, said we should send our project to the Biennale. And I answered, no, we are not ready. We are students. Juan Pablo, no. Yes, we should do that. Okay, he's always with these ideas. He forced me to change software many times. He's the one who is always with these changes to encouraging me. We sent it, and we were selected, and we were kind of wow, because at least for me in that moment, the Biennale was something like only for professionals, only for people who are already in this business for years. So I was quite surprised, and this was like, I'm telling this because for us was the first time like to be connected even with the community in other countries in Latin America. So for me that was a huge thing. That's why I think that at least in our region, the Biennale is like a very good window to show your stuff. And the second was when I started with Google funds, when they commission funds, especially the Devanagari projects. because no, we cannot do this, it's crazy. We cannot do the Vanagari. I am totally shy that Kimya is here. And I accepted that project. Yes, we didn't have any face, like, but we were a group of 4, and we say to each other, we are 4, we are a group, we have different profiles even between us, so we will figure out how to do this. And well, then Andres developed the Vana Guide and many things or tools that helps us to learn, and because we have timing, so we need to be faster in this process. And finally we did it. Well, I remember here trying to push Rob or Dan, like, who had studied this in Reading, like, can you please, with my printed, you know, can you please check this or this, because I was kind of, I cannot do that, I cannot do that. But we managed. So these 2 points were somehow like when you push yourself more than what you think you can do, like push you further, not what I mean. Somehow these 2 things really like help me to realize, like, yes, when you're passionate about something, then just push yourself, or the situations push you, and accept those challenges. There's always someone who could help you behind you, someone in case you cannot figure out.
Yeah, true. That is really important. And then I would just say that Rosetta and meeting Miles were things that were important, or would you put other moments there as well as being important?
There's not one moment that was important for this, but of course meeting Miles and working with Rosetta was one of the things that pushed a lot and showed me that the way I was going was the right way. So, and these kind of things kept happening, and so I think it's important that these moments just happen, or maybe that you just realize that this is a moment right now, and that you should just take it and maybe get pushed by it. I think it's more about like being open-minded and have your eyes open for these moments and like find them everywhere. So I cannot think of like one moment that was very important, but there were like many moments that were important, and there still are.
Yeah, I have the same thing. And Bianca, were you pushed by the workshop in the prison?
I don't know what
that felt like a strong.
I don't know what pushed me there really, but I think that it's still very young, but I think that alphabets also played a big role, and we wouldn't sit here and talk about this if it wasn't for this kind of group of people and the exchange that is happening between us. So I think this is pretty cool that we can do this kind of thing, and that we are connected with other people. And I think this is already pushing some people forward, and I think it will just continue to grow like this and be influential and great. So big shout outs to alphabets as well. Mm-hmm. We have a couple of questions still that we would like to answer. Well, actually 3. One of them is, does a master's in type design make it easier to get into the industry itself? Mm-hmm. And how much experience is necessary before actually applying to the master's program? I think we kind of talked about this already. To be completely honest, I do think it helps, but not for the reason of having the master's itself. The document is not going to help you at all. The experience and the exchange with other people during the program is what's going to help you get there.
I agree.
Yes, I agree.
I agree.
Great, we agree. Then there's another question. In a world where the majority of the population consumes typefaces, how does it feel to be on the creation end of things? I don't know. I'm not creating that type. I'm not doing that. I'm not designing fonts at the moment. So you got to answer these questions.
That's my friend who's asked this question.
No, I would say that even though we have thousands, millions of typefaces around, there's always something that is missing, either because of technology, or if you go for a project and you say, oh, I would like to use, I think many typefaces, like the type designs came into being by someone trying to find something, and then they couldn't, and they say, oh, then they should exist, and then went into creating that. So there's always something, oh, with this width, with this weight, with this character, that you can still find. And yeah, there's still space for so many things. And now with variable fronts, well, let's not start that discussion right now. Yeah, we need to wrap up things, but
Yes, it's true. I would like to add, like, for instance, in Latin America, there is so much to do with native languages. So there is still some space that needs to be developed. I don't know, one of our typefaces was used to design a book or schools books in Aymara, sorry. Or last week, we received an email, someone contacted us from Chiapas, Mexico, for a native language, like they need a special apostrophe, special glyphs. So there is, sometimes it's just one glyph that makes the difference, like because they need that for that native language, to print books or whatever. So there is some space there too, to be developed.
Okay, Diego just referred to a talk Stephen Coles gave a while ago about, I think he was comparing chairs to typefaces, and he's like asking, are there enough chairs in the world? So are there enough typefaces in the world yet? No, not. We need more. We are greedy. We want more of that.
Yes.
We have another question from Stephen Coles, which is a little bit possibly off topic, but he warned me before when he sent this. So he's saying, students in workshops like Chaccur sometimes ask me how to improve their typesetting skills. It seems there are now plenty of medium to long-term type design and lettering courses, but not so much for typography. How would you advise professionals who may not have graphic design experience to learn fundamental typography skills outside books or full degree? Do such courses exist? Yes, they do. And the most brilliant Tanya Raposo is doing this at Chaccur West, and she's looking at micro and macro typography. And I think this is just an example, but I think if you look around, you might find some courses that do this or workshops that do this. But on the other hand, there's also so much literature about this topic. So, Stephen, just, go to the library and dig into the books. Anyone has anything to add to this?
No.
I think we are approaching 2 hours of work, and we should wrap up. But that leaves with an idea that the same thing that we are saying over and over, like books, events, and reach out to people. And talking about reaching out, we do have a mentorship program, right?
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do. So I think during this conversation, a lot of time it just came out that there were some important people in our lives that pushed us a little bit further, or asked the right questions. So we just got us thinking. And if you are interested in exchanging some thoughts with someone, if you just need like a sounding board where you can ask questions about these kind of things, or you want somebody who can guide you through some important steps or give you advice about portfolios, about applying for jobs, then there's this great thing on the alphabets.org website. If you go to the About section, there's a tab called Mentorship Program, and you can find all the information about the mentorship program that we are offering in there, and you can apply through forms that are linked on this site, and we are happy to help you find a mentor and connect you to some people.
Yeah, and I'd like to just add that for people in and around India, like Mumbai, we have recently decided to open up our personal library to students and anybody who wants to look at type books, since we have a huge collection of them, that we decided that we would have students come over, and if you want to visit us, you can write to us and we can find a time that's appropriate and you can come look at our books.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. Yeah. That's also, it reminds me of Letterform Archive and how it started.
Oh, wait. You're far behind from that, but
no, but even then, it's more in life. Like if you have a bit, like it's to share, it's important. Yeah, I think we are on our final words here, and also, as Bianca mentioned, Typo Labs. I'll be there next year moderating, and it does feel like I do feel in a way like an outsider a bit, because it's very technical, but it's so inspiring. It's so interesting. Anyway, I would like to thank everyone that has joined us throughout these 2 hours, because we thought that we would be having fun, the 5 of us on our own.
I think if you're patient enough to sit through this, then you're good to design type.
Sure.
Yeah, I would like to thank the girl, like everyone here, for participating and contributing a bit to put this together, either with testing or the videos and everything. I think I can say for myself that I had a lot of fun.
I had so much fun.
It was so nice learning more about you and what got you to this point, and connecting the dots from this past 5 years and the past, even beyond that, to see how we got here. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for everyone, and I hope that there will be like a part 2. Let's see who is going to be involved in that and what are we going to talk about. And maybe it doesn't even have to drag on for 2 hours next time. All right, let's wrap it up.
Yes.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.